console cable, and you can see that right now we don't have DB9 connector anymore, or DB9 connector anymore. Both ends are USB ports. So those are USB ports. I think this one is a type USB port, so this one also is a USB ports. Okay, so this is the one, the USB type of port that you have on the Cisco, on the what, on the network devices, and this is what you have on your laptop when you connect the console cable, and this is the one that we use the most today. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay, we have looked at we have seen the different types of console cable. So now let me go back to my board here. So now the router, as I was saying, okay, if you want to access it, okay, there's a mess. Let me clean it. Okay, so okay, so let's say that we have a router. As I was saying, if I want to access it, I need a laptop. Okay, and that laptop I will connect my console cable, okay, here, and this console cable I will connect it to the console port of the router here. Okay, so now making use of the cable is not enough to have access to the router. Okay, it's not enough to have access to the router and manage it. Okay, so now I have to make use of a specific software. On my laptop here, I should make use of a specific software that we called the terminal emulator. The terminal emulator. Okay, the terminal emulator, that is it's a software that will help me to have access to the interface of the router, where I will have to where I will be able to manage the device. Okay, so now the router, the network device, as they have interfaces that we can make use in order to that can help us to manage it. Okay, so the router has two different interfaces where we can manage the device, and the first one is what we call the CLI. The CLI, we stand for the command, okay, command line interface. Okay, and the other interface is what we call the GUI. Okay, the GUI, which stands for graphical user interface. Okay, so now when it comes to the GUI, the one which is down here, the GUI, the graphical user interface. So routers, let's say, or there's a type of routers that has not that has this interface that we call the GUI. Not all of them. Okay, we are having this interface on all the routers. Okay, but even new routers, some of them has this GUI, but it's not common. Okay, so now this graphical user interface is an interface on the router where you see it's a graphical interface on the router where you have a kind of board, and you see some buttons on the board, some stuff, okay, where you can click and everything. Okay, and each of the buttons that are present on the interface, they are maybe attached to a command, to a specific command, okay, that will be applied or that will be implemented by what's on the router. So now the GUI, using the GUI interface, using the graphical user interface, does not give you enough power to manage the device. So there are some stuff you will be able to do with this interface, but if you want to do more, let's say more advanced fit, you want to, for instance, to configure more advanced feature, you want to perform more advanced configuration on the router, the graphical user interface is not that powerful to give you that to give you the means to do that. Okay, so that's why we don't have, let's say that we don't really have it on modern network devices, or like Cisco switches or routers today, but some of them they get some. Okay, so now this one, as I said, does not really give you enough power to manage the device. But now when it comes to the CLI interface, the CLI interface here gives you power on the device. I mean, when I'm saying that it gives you power, with the CLI interface here, you can, let's say, basically do whatever you want to do on the network device. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so I was saying that the CLI interface here, this interface is powerful, is a powerful interface, and this interface, okay, it gives you the power to do, let's say everything that you want to do on the device. Okay, but now in order to be able to do whatever you want to do on the network device, you have to, with this interface, you have to make use of what? Of commands. You have to know commands. Okay, so with the CLI interface here, you should enter commands. So you should master the commands that that the router, okay, that you will use to manage the router. And each of the command, with the commands, you can, let's say, configure basically everything on the router. Okay, you can change most of the let's say most of the settings of the router. But when it comes to the GUI, graphical user interface, it is limited compared to the CLI interface. That's why network engineer, most of the time, when it comes to managing the device, they rely on the CLI interface. Okay, they will mainly use the CLI interface. Okay, so now okay, so now let me just okay, so let me just remove the GUI here. Okay, so now you know that now the interface which is mostly accessed in order to manage the network device is what is the CLI. So now the terminal emulator, okay, so on the, as I said, okay, the cable here is not enough to manage the device, so I should make use of a specific program or a software on my laptop that will give me access to the network device, and that software is what we call the terminal emulator. And that terminal emulator basically will help me to will give me will help me to have access to the CLI interface of the router. Okay, so with that terminal emulator, I will be able to have access to the CLI interface of the router, and where I will be able to input command and manage the device. But now an example of the of a terminal emulator that we use the most as network engineer is the one that we call, for instance, PuTTY. So PuTTY is a great software when it comes to accessing network devices. I don't know if I have I think I have it installed on this laptop. Yes, okay, as you can see, this is PuTTY. This is how it is how it is represented. This is a symbol of PuTTY. I can even launch it, and this is PuTTY. Okay, so this is a terminal emulator. So when it comes to accessing a network device, you should make use of what? Of these of you should make use of this software, okay, to have access to the device. Okay, so now okay, most of the time we'll use the serial connection. So unfortunately, the training is online. Okay, when the training is on prem, okay, we will try to have, I will show you, let's say, real life example how to access the device. This is what I used to do with my student on prem. We have devices at Improtech, so the cable are present. So what I'm going to do, take the device and let show them how to have access to the device. But now when it comes to what we are doing online, so we do it on packet tracer, basically the same thing that okay, the same thing that I'm explaining that you normally should do physically if the devices were present. You can also do it on Cisco packet tracer. Okay, you can also do it on Cisco packet tracer. There's no much difference. Okay, it's true that there are just some few things that will change, but it's in the same concept. The goal is to understand the concept. Once you have understood the concept, you are good to go. Okay, so now this is PuTTY. Let me go back to the board. Okay, so I think when it comes to the console, the local management, okay, right now we are good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, okay, Is there anything else? Okay, so now what I'm going to do, let me go on Packet Tracer. Let me open Packet Tracer and let me show you how to do it on Packet Tracer, how it works. So David, you have a question? I've seen that you have raised your hand and you removed it again.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So I was asking, after connecting the laptop to the router or switch, won't you do any configurations to on the laptop or computer?
Yes. When you are doing it physically, okay, in real life, there's let's say some configuration that you have to do, okay, on the putty on the laptop side, okay. There are some just small configuration that you have to do. They are not really let's say difficult. For instance, let me launch putty. Okay, the configuration that I'm talking about is the fact that if this is my laptop that I'm using to connect the device, so when connecting to the network device, you have to put yourself on serial here, because the console cable is a serial cable. Okay, is a serial cable. It uses serial types of communication to communicate with the laptop and the router. So now you have to put yourself on serial here. But now you see that when you check serial here, you see that you have the serial line. Okay, so now the serial line by default is COM1. If you are lucky, okay, the serial line here is the communication line that will be set between your laptop and the network device in order to give you access to the CLI interface. But now, depending of I don't really know how it make use of how the laptop and the router chooses the serial line to communicate. Okay, but this serial line, okay, will change. It's not most of it's not always COM1. Okay, this communication port, I mean COM here is for communication port. This communication port, okay, will change. Sometimes you could be lucky and it is communication 1, port 1. Okay, so now you have to find out, okay, if you want, for instance, you don't know which communication port, okay, that your laptop is using to communicate with the network device, you can find it out on your laptop here by going to the network the device manager here. You go to the device manager. Okay, so when you will go to the device manager, by default, when you would just connect, for instance, your console cable to your laptop, okay, somewhere here where we have some ports here, you will see the COM port will appear, and that COM port will have a number. Okay, let me say, for instance, that when you will connect, for instance, the console cable on your laptop, it will it will show here, somewhere here you will see ports. Okay, and you will see COM ports, and the COM port will maybe have a number, for instance, COM port. Okay, let me just show you. Somewhere here you will see maybe ports. Okay, ports, and then when you click there, you will see COM ports. Okay, maybe 3, and it means that when connecting the console cable on your laptop, the COM port that you will use, it will be what, 3 here. So you will now take this ID, you go to you will go to the putty here. Okay, you go to putty here and then change this ID and put to 3, meaning that put 3. Okay, meaning that the communication port or the CLI line COM3 that the device is using to communicate with your laptop is 3. So you have to change it like this, and now you press what. So when it comes to the speed here is in bold. So now you just have to leave it that way. You don't really need to change it. Leave it by default. Okay, and you will come here, you just press okay. You press enter our access that was there. It was what, yeah, open. You open the session. Okay, and this is how it works in real life. Okay, but in Packet Tracer we also do the same. I don't know if I answered your question.
Very well, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, this is basically how it works. Yeah. Olufemi.
Sorry, can you please zoom out the configuration you are showing us now? It's too tiny, it's too small.
uh oh, okay. Unfortunately, I think there's no way for me to raise this thing. Let me try. I don't know if I can increase the size of this thing. I don't think so. I think last time I tried it wasn't working. So let me use, let me try and see if I can increase it here. Okay, so right now it's like no way for me to increase this because I'm trying. Okay, right now this I mean I can't. I don't know how to increase this thing right now. Okay, but you be
You would have to magnify.
uh
Hello.
yeah, I'm listening.
I'm saying you would have to magnify the whole screen.
Yeah, but anyway, so I hope when you, I mean, when you watch the video, maybe it will be able to have it in plain screen. But now, so as I was saying, there's no much configuration to do here. Just have to click on serial here, choose the COM ports, okay, and then go to network to the what? So the device manager, okay. You go to the device manager on your laptop, okay. You come to you have to go to the search bar, and at the search bar here you just write down device manager. You go to the device manager, the device manager will show up. This is the device manager, and then you have a menu here. So when you connect the console cable on your laptop, somewhere here you will see port will appear, and then when you will click on the port here, you will see you will see some information will be displayed, and you will choose the COM port and the ID that will be displayed here. You take that information and you come and you fill it here. If it is 3 over there, you come here, you change it and you put 3, and this is how it works. Okay, so now let us move on. Okay, I think I was on packet tracer. Yes. Okay, so now this is packet tracer. Okay, the software that we use for to practice and check mostly everything that we'll be doing for the during the training. And you can see packet tracer has some many menus, okay, around. So down here we have, this is where we will have the network devices. Down here is where we have the network devices. You can see that here I have what network devices, and the second one is what end devices. Okay, so when it comes to network devices, down here I have what routers, I have switches, I have hubs, I have wireless devices, I have security devices. And when it comes to the routers are there. I have many types of routers that are there, Cisco routers that are present here. Okay, if I need a switch, I can click here on switches, and you can see here I have different types of switches that are present here. Okay, so I even have the device that was coming before the switch that we call the bridge. Okay, so this is a bridge which is here. See, this is a bridge. Okay, let me increase. This is a bridge, for instance. Okay, and if you want to need, if for instance you need a switch, you can just click on the switch here, and then you click on the white space zone here, and then the switch will be put here. Okay, this is how we use it. And if you need a router, you just go to the router side here, and then you choose the router, the one that you need, for instance the 2911. So the routers are they have some numbers that identify them, which is a serial, let's say the how do we call it, serial number. Okay, so we have different types of routers. So you can choose, for instance, the 2911, and you click it on it, and you put it here on the white zone space, which is here. Okay, and then you have it here. Okay, so now basically what I need, okay, let me just remove it. Okay, so in order to okay, so I need a router. So okay, so I need a router. I'm going to take a router, so I'll come down here where there is router. I'll choose the 2911 here, and I will put it here. Okay, so now this is a router, and I also need a device in order to manage this router. So I will go to end device here, and I have many types of end device here. I have PCs, I have laptops, I have servers, I have printers, I have IP phone, I have TV, tablet, I have smartphones. Okay, all types of end devices are present. So now I need a laptop. Okay, and let me take, I have one laptop here. I will click on it and I will put it here, laptop. So this is a laptop. Then in order to, as I said, in order to connect to the router here, I need what, cable. So now you go where they have written connection, where there is the yellow tender. Okay, the yellow and red tender which is there, you click on it, and this is where they have written down here what connection. This is where you have all the connection, the different types of cables that you can use to connect in devices between them. Okay, so now the yellow and red tender which is there, this is automatic. Okay, this one, if you use it, it will help you to automatically choose the specific cable that you will use to connect between you use to connect the devices. Okay, for instance, if I want to connect these two devices, okay, between without knowing in advance which specific cable to use, you can make use of the automatic connection which is here, the yellow tender, this yellow tender which is yellow and red tender which is here. Okay, so when you click on it, you just come to the device here, you click, automatically it will connect the cable. Okay, and you click on the router, it will connect it automatically without you choosing anything. Okay, but now sometimes it is not good, because right now it is not this cable that I want to connect between the two. Okay, the cable that I want to connect between the two is not this one, is another one. Okay, so that's why knowing which type of cable to use, okay, is something is better, is something good. Okay, so now what I need specifically is a console cable, and the console cable, as I said, is always in most of the time in blue color. And you can see that here I have what it is here. I have what it is written console, meaning that this is the console cable. And the yellow and red tender here, it is written automatically choose connection type. So this one choose automatically the connection type, I mean the cable that you will use. So I want the console cable, so I will click here on the console cable. Okay, so now when I will click on the console cable, I will bring it on the laptop here, and I will click on the laptop, and now it will show me a small menu. That menu is the available ports that are present on the laptop. So you can see that right now on this virtual laptop, I have what, RS 232 ports. I have the two USB port, and I have a fast Ethernet 0 port. Okay, the fast Ethernet 0 port is a RG45 port, the network port as we used to call it. Okay, so now I want to, as I showed you, okay, in order to connect this if I want to connect the console cable on the laptop here, I can connect it on the RS232 port on this laptop. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I will click again on the laptop here, and then I will click on RS232. Then you will see that my console cable is connected. Okay, so now the other end which is not connected, I will bring it to the router here, and when I will click on the router also will show me some available port that it has, and you can see that the router has auxiliary port and console port. Okay, and some Giga Ethernet port that are present. So I want this port is mainly used to connect to, to be connected to what, to the console port. So there's a console port which is available. So now I will click on the console port, and then you will see that now the cable is connected. So now my laptop is connected to the router through a console cable, and this is also what we call the console connection. Okay, so this cable is only used for management purposes. Let me precise it. This cable is only used for management purposes. Okay, so now that my device is connected to my laptop is connected to the router through a console cable. Okay, so now as I said, I can make the cable is not enough to have access to the device, so I have to make use of specific software, and I told you that software is what we call the terminal emulator. So now this device which is here, this laptop which is here is a laptop, and that laptop, as you know, has what, an operating system, and on the operating system there are some application or software that are installed. So on this virtual laptop which is here has some virtual program that are installed pre-installed on it. So now I can just click on the laptop, and you will see that it will show me this interface where I have a view or an image of the, or how the laptop looks, how the laptops look like. And then I can even zoom out, zoom in, okay, and try and see. Let me increase it. I can even zoom out, okay, no, zoom in, okay, in order to increase the size of the laptop. And you can see that here, okay, I can even zoom out, and you can see that here we have a laptop, a representation of the virtual laptop. And the virtual laptop, this is a this is what the RJ45 port, okay. I have another one here. I have some ports that are USB port that are present, okay. So now I can even turn off and on this laptop. You see this button which is here, this is the power button. So you see it is gray, but if I click on it, it's now what, green, or I don't know, yellow, yellow I think, okay. This is where you can on and off the laptop, okay. So now if you want to see the available programs that are installed on this virtual laptop, you can look at the top here. We have a specific a menu which is there, and on this menu which is there somewhere, they have it's written desktop. Now if you click on desktop, here, this interface that will show up here, this is where you will see all the different programs that are installed on the laptop, on the virtual laptop. So those are all the different programs that are pre-installed on the virtual laptop. And among them, if you start with the first one, here we have IP configuration, here we have dialed up program, and we have the third one here, which is terminal. This is the terminal program which is installed on the virtual laptop, and this is the program which is playing the role of PuTTY on a virtual laptop in Packet Tracer, okay. So now if you click on it here, you will see that, okay, you will see that it's like PuTTY, okay. Here we have some parameters, okay. It's true that there is no on PuTTY, the true one, okay. I don't know if I can, let me put the 2 here, okay. So you can see that this is PuTTY. PuTTY is on the right side, and the one okay the one that resembles to PuTTY on the Packet Tracer, the program that resembles to PuTTY on Packet Tracer in this one, okay. So now you can see that it's basically the same, okay. They just wanted to replicate this in order to give you the possibility to practice, okay. Let me go back to Packet Tracer. Yes, okay. So this is the terminal program on the virtual laptop. So now here you don't really need to change anything. You just need to leave the default parameters like this, okay. And now the only thing that you have to do is just to click or to press enter here, okay, here. And now when you press okay, you now have access to what, to the CLI interface of what, the CLI interface of the router, okay. You have now access to the CLI. So this is the CLI interface of the router that you have been able to have access, okay. So now virtually this is what you will be doing, okay. Virtually this is what you will be doing, how to have access to what, to the router using the laptop, okay. And in real life it will be the same, okay. So now when it comes to having access to the CLI interface of the router, you can do it like this. But now on Packet Tracer, okay, they created a way that can help us to enhance our work when working on Packet Tracer. So you don't really, in order to access the device like this locally, you don't really need to make use of a laptop like this. On Packet Tracer, you can just click on the device straight away. If let's say that you bring your cursor on the laptop, on the network device, the router here, click on the router, and this will show up, okay. And you will see that this one here, it's like with the laptop, you will have a view of what a router could be, okay. So this is a kind of image. I can zoom in, okay. This, for instance, Cisco. This is a Cisco router. This is how it is represented. The image which is down here, this is I think the front side, and the back side is the one which is at the top, where we have some ports that are there. And where it is black here, those are let's say how can I say, those are places on the router where you can insert modules, models. Yes, models. Okay, interface models, you can insert them on those empty places. Okay, so now the router too, you can off it, you can on it, off it here. We have a power button here, so you can off it and you can on it again. So when you off it, it is gray. Okay, when you on it, it is green. The color here, the color light here is green. Okay, and then here, but now like this, when doing like this, I can have directly access to the router by going straight away to the CLI interface. Look at the menu at the top here. Somewhere here I have CLI. Okay, I have CLI. If I click on CLI, I have direct access to the CLI interface of what? Of the router. Have you? Okay, so no need on packet tracer to make use of the laptop only to have access to the CLI interface. Okay, you can just take a device. For instance, let me take another device, let me take another router here, put it here. If I want to have access to its CLI, just click on the router and go to CLI at the top here, and now I'm having access to the router. But right now the router is booting. Okay, the router is booting. Okay, let us wait to the router to finish to boot, to finish booting. Oh god. Okay, then here I have access to the CLI interface of the router. Okay, so now this way of having access directly to the router by clicking on it, this one, you have to understand that in real life you want to be able to do that. So in real life, the only way for you to have access to the device is by using a laptop. Okay, so let me just remove it. Okay, okay, so now on the router also has another management port, and that management port is what we call the auxiliary port, the aux port. So the auxiliary port, okay, was a port that we're using to access the device. Okay, but that device use a phone line connection. Okay, a phone line connection. So meaning that in order to have access to this device using the auxiliary port here, so you have to make use of what you were calling a modem. So here you connect a modem. Okay, and that modem here you connect where your laptop, and on your laptop here you use your specific software that can help you on which you will be able to dial a number. So you dial a number like you are making a call, and when you dial that number like you are making a call, and that number that you will dial, okay, will generate a kind of call, and that call will be okay, that signaling calls that will be sent to the router, and the router will give you access to the CLI interface. And this is what they were doing with how they were having access to the router using the auxiliary port. But now we don't use it anymore. Okay, so this make use of a phone line connection. Okay, where you have to dial a number to have access to the router, but this one we don't use it anymore. Okay. Okay, so now I've been able to have access to the router, to the CLI interface of the router. Okay, so now let me, okay, oh, what is that? Where is it? Okay, so now let me go back to the laptop here. I have now access to the CLI interface of the router. So now when you firstly have access to the CLI interface of the router, you come across what we call the system configuration dialog. So the system configuration dialog, it's let's say it's a program, okay, like I can say it like this. It's a kind of program on the router that wants to monitor you when you want to try, when you're entering, when you want to firstly manage the device for the first time. Okay, so for the first time when you have access to the router, you will come across what you call the system configuration dialog that will want to monitor what you want to do. If for instance you don't know what to configure first, okay, the system configuration dialog will help you. For instance, right now there is a question which is the system configuration dialog is asking you a question, and that question is, would you like to enter here you can read, would you like to enter the initial configuration dialog? Okay, so now if you say yes, the router will monitor everything that you'll be doing. Okay, I mean, the router will basically tell you, okay, what you have to configure. Okay, the first configuration that you have to do. But if you input no, okay, it's like you don't need the router to assist you when it comes to those first configuration that you have to perform. Okay, so for instance, let me answer yes. Okay, let me say that I will answer yes. Let me put yes and press enter. So when I will press enter, you see that the router is saying, okay, basic management setup configures only enough connectivity for the management of the system. Okay, no, let me read what is down. There is another question which is asked, that the system configuration dialog is asking you, and the other that question is what? Would you like to enter basic management setup? Okay, so now if you want to enter basic management setup, you can also answer yes. And now the router will ask you another question, enter host name. So the host name here basically is the name that you will give to the device. Okay, so now, as I said, it's like the router or the network device is trying to monitor you. He is trying to tell you everything that you need to do for it to work for you to manage the device. Okay, but now if you don't want to, you don't want let's say the system configuration dialog to assist you or to monitor what you are doing. So when you see the first question, okay, that the system at the configuration dialog will ask you, you have to answer no. And when you answer no, you now have the whole, okay, you have now the power, or okay, or the possibility to configure, to do everything yourself. Okay, you don't need to be assisted by the configuration dialog system. Okay, so now for instance, if I want to give a name, okay, to this router, I can, let's say for instance, let me put for instance Accra. Let me call this router for instance Accra. If I press enter, you can see that right now he is asking me again another question, telling me to configure something. What should I configure again? I should enter the enable secret, which is a password. But okay, I don't want to do this. This is taking time. I want to be the one who's configuring stuff without anyone telling me what to have to do. Okay, so now what I can do, let me go on the click on the router here. Let me go to physical and let me off the router. I will off the router and on it again, and the router will boot. Okay, will boot. Let me go back to the laptop, and the router is booting. Okay, so now it's back to this it's back to, everything is back to normal again. The first question, as usual, would you like to enter the initial configuration? I will say no, I don't want to be assisted, I want to be the one doing stuff. And then when you just input no, now you are access to the first mode of configuration of the router, where you can input commands and everything. Okay, any questions so far, or I can move on? Okay, no questions, so I can move on. So now now that I have access to the,
you can move on.
Okay, good. So now that I have access to the router, let me precise that okay, the router okay, you know that the laptop, okay, a normal laptop has an operating system, and for instance this laptop which is here, okay, let's say that maybe this laptop which is here is having the Windows operating system, maybe Windows 11 for instance. But now the router also here, the router also has an operating system, because mainly the router at first is what is a physical device that has physical components. But now in order to take advantage of those physical components, okay, we have to make use of a program, and that program mainly is what is an operating system that will help us to manage the different components which is embedded in the device. The same the same thing for the laptops. So the laptops basically is just made of components, okay, and if you want to take advantage of those components, we'll make use of the Windows operating system here, okay, that will help us to manage or to work with the components that are on the laptops. So Cisco devices, they also have an operating system, and that operating system is what the Cisco operating system is what we call iOS. Okay, and iOS here stands for Internet Network Operating System. Internet Network, okay, operating system. This the iOS. This is the name of the operating system running on Cisco devices. So please, I beg, the iOS here does not relate to Apple or let's say phone iOS that you know. Okay, the iOS of Apple, I think. No, this is not related to it. This iOS, this is the Internet Network Operating System. The name of what the operating system of that Cisco runs on its devices. Okay, so now when you have access the first time when you're having access the first time, okay, so you can look at the information of the, okay, all those information that are shown here, okay, they will also give you information about the operating system. Okay, so when you can see here I have iOS image load test, okay, meaning that this maybe was a test that was running when the device was loading what the iOS image. But I have, okay, somewhere here I think we can have the iOS version, okay, of the operating system. So let me clean here. Okay, let me look for it. I think it is written somewhere here. Where is it? Okay, so this is the version of the Cisco iOS operating system running on this router. Okay, the version 15.1, okay, M4, and then we have what I'm looking from somewhere. Okay, so you can see here it is written Cisco system. Well, yes, this is it. So here you see it's written what Cisco. Let me increase here. You can see that here it is written Cisco. Where is it? I've seen it, right? Yes, okay, it is here. You can see here they have written Cisco here. Okay, Cisco iOS software, and this is for the C2900 software. So this is the version here is 15.1 release software and everything. So this is the Cisco operating system running on what, on the router. Okay, now let me move. Okay, so now let me go back to the boards. Okay, so now the router that I've just accessed, okay, so let's say that this is our router. Okay, so now the Cisco operating system has many mode of the CLI interface. Okay, when you access the CLI interface of the router, you have access to the first mode of configuration of the router. So the router has the CLI interface, or the operating system has many modes of configuration, and the first mode of configuration is what we call the okay, let me just put writing down. So Cisco, okay, iOS has three main modes of configuration. And the first one, okay, is what we call the user exec mode, of configuration. The second one is what we call the privilege mode of configuration, and the third one is what we call the global configuration, the global mode of configuration. Those are the three main mode of configuration that you will find on the Cisco devices. But now we have some sub mode of configuration that are under those main modes, but the main ones are user exec mode, the privilege exec mode, and the global mode of configuration, and under them we have many sub modes of configuration. We have, for instance, the interface line sub mode of configuration. We have many sub mode of configuration, and while going through the training we'll see those sub modes of configuration. So now the first mode of configuration, which is the user exec mode of configuration, mode of configuration. This is represented by, okay, this is represented by the greater than symbol. In order to recognize the user exec mode, okay, of configuration, if you, when you are connect, they say that you are having access to the router, and you see this router and the greater than symbol like this, you have to understand that now you are in the user exec mode of configuration in the router. For instance, if I go back to the router right now, if I go back to the router, you can see that if I go down here right now I'm in the user exec mode of configuration. And how do I know that? It is because the first mode of what is that? It is because here look, I have what? I have the name, the default name of the device, which is router. Okay, the default name of the device. Wait, let me show you. Okay, here I have the default name of the router, okay, which is router, and I have the symbol here, which is the greater than symbol. And this prompt here, okay, this prompt here is what is letting you know that you are in the user exec mode of configuration of the router. Okay. Okay, so let me go back to the board. Okay, and then we have the next one is what we call the privilege mode of configuration, and this one is represented by the, okay, represented like this. Okay, you will see router, then this symbol, hash symbol. Okay, and then we have the global mode of configuration. The global mode of configuration is represented by this prompt, where you have router, okay, you see like this config in bracket, and you see the hash symbol. So this is how you recognize each of the three mode of configuration. But now, okay, you can see that right now right now I'm in the router and I'm in the first mode of configuration. So now, how to move from the first mode of configuration to the next mode of configuration? For instance, how to move from the user exec mode to the privilege mode, and how to move from the privilege mode to the global mode of configuration. So let me show you. So if, for instance, you are having this, let's say that you are in the user, okay, you are in the user exec mode, and down here we have the privilege mode, and we have the global mode of configuration. Okay, so now when you are in the privilege mode, or when you are in the at first you are in the user exec mode of configuration and you want to move to the privilege mode of configuration, you should enter a command, a specific command, and that command that you will enter in order to move to the privilege mode of configuration is the command enable. So you will enter the command enable at the user exec mode. So at the user exec mode, you will enter the command enable, and it will make you move to the privilege mode of configuration. Then from the privilege mode of configuration, if you want to move to the global mode of configuration, you should also use another command. Okay, that's why I was saying that you making use of the CLI interface. In order to efficiently use the CLI interface, you should know the commands, and this is what we are doing. We are also learning the commands. Okay, so in order to move from the privilege mode to the global mode of configuration, you should also enter another command, and the command here is configure, is a set of words basically. So here it's configure terminal. Okay, and when you enter this set of this command like this, you will move to the global mode of configuration. Okay, so let me show you. Let me go back to the router here. Right now I'm in the router, and I'm at what? The global mode of the user exec mode of configuration. So if I want to move to the privilege mode of configuration, I should enter the command enable, as I told you. So enable. Okay, you can see that I've written enable. If I press enter, you see that the prompt has changed, the symbol has changed. It's not greater than anymore, but there is the hash symbol which is now showing now. Okay, and this is what lets you know that you are not in the user exec mode anymore, but now you are in the privilege mode of configuration. Are you okay? So if you want to move now from the privilege mode of configuration to the global mode of configuration, as I said, you should enter the command configure terminal. Okay, so when you enter this command configure terminal, it will make you move from the privilege mode of configuration to the global mode of configuration, and you will notice that the prompt will change. Okay, the prompt is not the same anymore. So that's why you will see that the first prompt here is what? The first prompt here for the first mode is what? Router plus the greater than symbol. This is the user exec mode. So this one user exec mode of configuration, and then you have to what? The router plus the hash symbol. This is the privilege mode of configuration, and then you have the router and config in parentheses, and then you have the hash symbol. This prompt is what lets you know that you are in the global mode of configuration. I hope it is clear, and this you should be able to recognize it. Okay, so now each mode of configuration comes by default with a set of commands that you can apply at each mode. Okay, so meaning that there are some commands that you can only, for instance, apply at the user exec mode, and on the privilege global or on the privilege or the global mode of configuration you cannot apply them. And the available number of commands on each mode of configuration is different, is not the same. Okay, so now let me show you that when it comes to the user exec mode. Okay, when it comes, for instance, okay, no, before even talking about it, let me go back to my to my board here. So I've just showed you how to move from the user exec mode to the privilege and to the global mode of configuration. So now if I want to move back, okay, if I want to go to the previous mode, for instance, let's say that right now I'm in the global mode of configuration, I want to go back to the privilege mode of configuration. What can I do? Okay, what is the command that can help me to go back to this mode? So for instance, here I can use the command exit. Okay, I can use the command exit. Okay, or I can use the command end. Here I have two commands, exit or end. Okay, so the command exit will take me back to the previous mode, and the command end here, when you are at the global mode and you enter the command end here, it will take you directly to the privilege mode of configuration. Let me prove you. Okay, yes, let me just do it. Let me show you that. So right now I'm in the global mode of configuration. If I want to go back to the privilege mode of configuration, I told you can enter the command exit, and it will take you back to the privilege mode of configuration. And if I want to go back to the global mode of configuration, I will enter the command configure terminal, and now I'm back to the global mode of configuration. But I can also use the command end, as I said. And if I enter end and I press enter, you see I'm back again to the privilege mode of configuration. Okay, this is how it works. So now let me go back to the board. Okay, so now if I want to move from the privilege mode of configuration and back to the user exec mode of configuration, I can also make use of a specific command. Okay, and the command that I can use here, I can also use again exit, and I can use the command disable. Okay, so now using those two commands, it can make you move, it will make me move from the privilege mode back to the user exec mode. So let me go back to packet tracer. Right now I'm in the privilege mode of configuration. Okay, so if I want to go back to the user exec mode, I can use the command exit. Okay, press enter. I'm now back to the user exec mode. From the user exec mode, if I want to move to the privilege mode, I told you I can use the command enable. I'm now back to the privilege, and from the privilege mode here, if I want to go back to user exec, I can also use the command disable, and now I'm back to the privilege, to the user exec mode of configuration, and this is how it works. Okay, so now what again? What again? Okay, so we saw talked about the mode of configuration. Okay, good. So now Okay. Okay, so now that you know how to move from the different mode of configuration, so now let us see how, for instance, okay, yes, I remember. So I was telling you that okay, each of the mode of configuration has a set number of commands that you can apply. For instance, if you want to see the different commands that you can apply at each mode of configuration, you can make use of this special command. So we have this special command, which is the question mark. The question mark on Cisco operating on Cisco iOS is a special command that can help you to see the available commands that you can input when configuring the device. So right now at the user exec mode of configuration, okay, let me right now I'm at the user exec mode of configuration, and if I want to see the available command at this mode of configuration, I just have to input the command, the key, the special command question mark. Okay, when I input, you see I've entered question mark. Automatically when I've just entered, I've input it, those command showed up. Okay, now you can see that those are the commands that I can enter at this mode of configuration. But now the commands that are available at the user exec mode of configuration, those commands are not really powerful commands, meaning that you cannot use them to change the settings or to change the configuration of the device. Those commands are just used to verify stuff and then to try maybe to do some checks and everything. Okay, but you cannot really use those commands to change the settings of the device, the configuration of the device. Okay, that's why we don't have much comment on these mode of configuration. But now if we move to the privilege mode of configuration, okay, by using the by using the command enable, okay, enable, okay, by using the command enable, okay, now I'm at the privilege mode of configuration. If I enter the special command question mark again, you can see that I have more comments that are displayed, but you can see that the commands are not even all of them are not even displayed. You can see that I have those commands, all those one, and down here I have more, meaning that there is more command remaining. So you can either press enter to show the remaining to see the remaining command. And right now let me increase this. You can see that okay, on the privilege mode of configuration, I have all those commands that are present, okay, that I can use. And on the privilege mode of configuration also is limited, meaning that this is not the mode where you can input command that will impact the settings of the router or the network device configuration. It's true that there are some commands that are there that will impact the configuration of the device. Yes, for instance, we have the clock command here. This command here, this is the command which is used to set the time of the router. For instance, if you want to manually set the time of the router, you can use the clock command here. Okay, but now this will change the time of the router. Okay, so changing the time of the router is like it's part of the configuration, right? The management part. Okay, so now at this mode you can do that, but it is still limited. There are not too much stuff that you can perform on this mode of configuration. So now the mode of configuration where okay you will be working on too much is the global mode of configuration. This is where you will be mostly inputting command in order to change the settings of the device. Okay, so now let me move to the global mode of configuration using the configure terminal command. Okay, now I'm at the global mode of configuration, and if I press question mark, if I enter the question mark here, the special command, you can see that here I have those commands, but down here I have more. If I keep pressing enter, it will show me all the available commands that are there. But you can notice that here I have more commands compared to the two previous mode of configuration. Okay. So now the commands that are entered at the global mode of configuration, most of them will change the settings or the configuration of the device. They will impact the device. Okay, so have it in mind. Okay, so now as I said, the command, for instance, at the global mode of configuration, this is where you those commands will impact the device. For instance, right now, among the commands available at the global mode of configuration, I have the host name command. The host name command. This host name command, okay, will help me to set the system network name, the system, I mean the name that I will give to this router. Okay, so now this is the command I can use at the global mode of configuration. I can use the command host name. Okay, so host name, okay, and enter, and let's say assigned a name. For instance, let me give this router the name of Accra. Okay, if I enter Accra, you see that the name of the router has changed. Okay, it's not a router anymore, it's not a router anymore, but now it is what? It is Accra. Okay, this is how we change the name of the device. But now you see that I've done it where at the global mode of configuration and not at the user exec or the privilege mode of configuration. Okay, I hope it is clear. So now okay, so now let us talk about the memory location of the router. So the router has many memory locations where the router stored files. Okay, so the router, let me go back to the board. So the router has many memory location. So the router has many memory location, or what is this? The router has many memory location. So the router has the memory location that we call the RAM. It also now have another memory location where that we call the NVRAM. Okay, and you have another memory location that we call the flash. Okay, the flash memory. Okay, so now the RAM memory location is where the router will store a file that we call the running configuration file. So the running configuration, the router has a file that we call the running configuration file, and this running configuration file is stored in the RAM, and the RAM here is a volatile memory. Volatile is a volatile memory on the router, meaning that this this memory is volatile. Why? Because everything, when the router is on, okay, and you will be performing some changes on the router, all the changes that you will be performing on the router will be stored on the running configuration file. Okay, so everything that you'll be doing will be stored in the running configuration file. But now, if by any chance, let's say that there is an issue, power outage, or something wrong is happened and everything, and then the router goes off, meaning that everything that you have done, okay, and you did not save, let's say that you did not save the configuration that you did, but those configurations were just stored in the running configuration file. Okay, but where that router will have an issue and it will go off, all the configuration that you did will be lost. You will lose everything. Okay, because everything that will be stored in this memory will not stay there permanently. If the router is on, the information are still in the memory location in the RAM. Okay, but when the router will go off, automatically everything that is installed in the RAM will be flashed out, will be wiped out. Okay, or wiped off. Okay, so this is basically what is it. So now now we also have what we call the okay. Just a minute. Okay, so I was saying what, yeah, the memory location. So the RAM In the RAM, the running configuration, there is a file which is stored in the RAM that we call the running configuration file. Okay, so this is where the running configuration will be stored. That everything that you will be currently doing will be stored in the running configuration file. And then in the NVRAM, the NVRAM here, this memory location we stored the file that we call the startup config. So there is another file on the router that we call the startup config file, the startup configuration file, the startup configuration file. Okay, so now the NVRAM here, NV here stands for non-volatile. So non-volatile RAM, meaning that this memory location is not a volatile memory, and everything that will be stored in this memory location will be kept there permanently, we stay there permanently. So now when you are working on the device, okay, you are making changes and everything, okay, you are making changes and everything, all the changes that you are doing will be stored in the running configuration file. And once you finish to do everything, all the changes that you want to do, and you will save the configuration, now the router will take everything that you did, okay, all the configuration that you have done, it will take it from the running configuration file and push it to the startup configuration file, to the startup configuration file. Okay, so now when you save your configuration, and your configuration will be now stored in the startup configuration file, the startup configuration file is stored in the non-volatile memory, meaning if there is an issue with the router and the router goes off, the router will still keep those configuration. Okay, and when the router will come back up, the configuration will still be restored. Okay, but if you just work on the router, you did changes and everything, and you did not save, meaning the configuration are still on the running configuration file. But if the router goes off, everything will be wiped off, okay, or will be flashed out. But now we have the last memory location that we call the flash memory, and the flash memory, this is where we will store the iOS image. The iOS operating system image is stored in the flash memory, here. So those are the types of memory that we have on the router. Okay, so now let me go back to the packet tracer here. Right now, as I said, I'm on the router. Okay, I'm on the router, and then if I want, for instance, to check the running configuration file on the router, okay, I can check it from the privilege mode of configuration. Okay, let me go back to the privilege mode of configuration. I just taught you that, okay, if the command that you can use to go back to the privilege mode, you can use, for instance, and it will take you to the privilege mode of configuration, and from the privilege mode of configuration you can enter the command show. This, you can use a show command. The show commands, most of the time they are used to it's like you are telling the router to show you some parameters or some configuration that he has. So I want right now the router to show me the running configuration file. So I will use the command show space running, okay, config. Okay, so show running config. But I don't know if you have noticed, I've just written show, and then I input and firstly I've just input run. Okay, but now automatically the remaining part was completed. This because I pressed, okay, the command, the key tab. I pressed tab on the keyboard. Okay, so when you press tab, okay, on the keyboard, it will complete the command. So it's not compulsory for you to input the command in full. Okay, for instance, let me do it again right now. Okay, let's say that the command for instance is show. If I want to enter the show command, I can just enter the first letters of the words of the command. For instance, sh for show. If I press tab, you can see that the command was completed. Okay, now it is show. But I want to use the command to input running config. But instead of running config in full, I can just put the first letters for the first 3 letters and press tab. You see, it will complete automatically. Okay, by pressing tab. Okay, now if I press enter, now you see that right now. So I've entered this command show running config, and now down here I have my running configuration. So now when you're going to, you can go through the running configuration file. Okay, so this is the running configuration file. Okay, the running configuration file, and when going through the running configuration file, you can press enter and it will go down. It will go down. So this is basically the default settings that are present in the running configuration file. We have the interfaces settings and everything. But now instead, you see that pressing enter is sometimes it could be tiring. Okay, by just pressing enter again and again. So if you don't want to press enter, by pressing enter, the operating system will just show you lines. It will show you each lines. Pressing enter will show you each lines of the configuration file. But if I don't want to show each lines of the configuration file, I want to see pages of the configuration file, you have to press the space bar on the keyboard. If you press the space bar on the keyboard, you see that it will show me one page at once. Let me do it again. Let me enter the command again. So show running config, press enter. If I press the space key bar on the keyboard, it will show me one page of the configuration of the file, another page, the last one. Okay, so right now it will show you all at once in pages, so you don't need to to press enter again in order to see each lines. Okay, I hope it is clear enough. Okay, so now this is it, and so we have this. So now this is the running configuration file. Right now we are looking at the running configuration file, and if I want to check the startup configuration file, I can use the command show startup config. So show startup config. If I press enter, it will normally, you see right now they are saying what? The startup config is not present. Okay, there is no startup config file which is present, and this is because I did not save my configuration. You see that I've changed. I don't know. I've changed the name of the router. Before it was router, and I've changed it to Accra. Okay, and I did not save my configuration yet. So what I'm going to do, let me off the router. Let's say that something happened and then the router went off. Okay, let me off the router here by going on the router, clicking on physical, and I'll go to the router here and I'll press here, and the router will go off. Okay, so when I on the router again, let me go back to the laptop here. You will see that the router is booting. The router is coming back up. But now, do you think I will still have the name that I configured? Let's try it. Let's see. If I input no, enter, you can see that now the router is back. It is having the default name, router. But you remember that I changed this name. I configured it to be Accra. But now that the router went off and I did not save my configuration, and the router went off, all the changes that I did were stored in the running configuration file, and the running configuration file is stored in the volatile memory, meaning if something happened to the router went off, okay, everything will be lost. Okay, this file location do not store information permanently. But now if I want to change it again, let me go back to let me change it again. I will have to go back to the global mode of configuration. So as I just told you that you don't really need to enter the command in full. For instance, instead of writing enable, you can just write down en and press enter. It will work. You move on to the next mode of configuration. Instead of writing down configure terminal and everything, you can just write down conf and then you put ter. You press enter. You have moved on to the global mode of configuration. Okay, you can abbreviate the command. Okay, but now abbreviating the command is good because it helps you to work efficiently with the iOS, Cisco iOS. But now there is something that I have to let you know. Let me go back to the privileged mode of configuration, and let me go back to the user exec mode of configuration. Right now I'm at the user exec mode of configuration, But if for instance I want to move on to the privilege mode of configuration, and I should enter the command enable. But if I enter the first letter of the word enable, which is E, okay, and I try to have access, I press enter, you see that it will tell me what? Ambiguous command. Ambiguous command. Why? The router thinks that when you are trying to make use of the command enable by entering the first letter E, for the router this is ambiguous. Ambiguous. Why? Because at this mode of configuration, the router has some command that start also with E. So the enable command is not the only command that start with E. There are some other command that also start with E, and then the router is not able to understand that which of the command that start with E you really want to use. For instance, if I use the keyword the question mark special command, you can see that right now among the commands that are available at the user exec mode, I have two commands that start with E. I have enable and exit. So that's why when entering only E, the router is not able to understand which one of the commands that start with E you want to use. That's why you will say that this is ambiguous for me. You understand? So now if I want to precise that, okay, I want to use enable, you have to enter the first letters en, and when looking at the commands available here, you can see that there is only the command enable which use the first letters E and N. That's why when pressing enter, it will work, because it is the only command that starts with en. Okay, and this is how it works. So now let me move on to the global mode of configuration. Okay, at the global mode of configuration, let me change the name of the router again. Let me put it back to Accra. Okay, so now okay, the command to change the name is host name, and I will put Accra. Okay, now the name of the router I've changed from router to Accra. Okay, so now I've changed my configuration. Okay, I've changed the name of the router, but I have to save my configuration. So there is many ways of saving the configuration of the router. Okay, there's many ways of saving the configuration of the router. You can save the configuration of the router from the privilege mode of configuration. Let me go back to the privilege mode of configuration using the command end. Okay, so now from here I can, if I want to save my configuration, by saving my configuration, I mean I'm taking the running configuration file, and I'm saving it into the startup configuration file. Okay, so now what I'm going to do when saving my configuration, basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell the router to copy everything that is on the running configuration file. I will tell it to copy the running configuration file into the startup configuration file. Okay, so everything that will be in the running configuration file will be copied in the startup configuration file. So now let me go to the back to the router here. Okay, so now let me, okay, from the privilege mode of configuration, if I want to see the running configuration file, I should use the command show running config. This is the running configuration file, and all this will be I will tell the router to save it in the running configuration file. But now in the running configuration file here, somewhere here, I have my host name command. You see the host name Accra. This is what I changed. Okay, and it is stored in the running configuration file. So now I'm going to tell the router from this mode of configuration to store the running configuration file into the startup by using the command copy running config. So copy I'm telling the router copy the running config into the startup config. Okay, and I will press enter, and it will tell me destination file startup config. I will also press enter. I leave it default like this, by default like this, and you see that building configuration. Okay, so now if I try to check my startup config by using the command show, okay, startup config, you can see that now my startup config is available, and it is mainly the same thing that I have in my running configuration file, the same thing. Okay, so now you see that now I've saved my configuration using this command. Okay, but I can also save my configuration using another command that we call the write. The command is write memory. Okay, and you press enter, it will also save the configuration. You can even abbreviate it by just putting, instead of writing write memo, you can just put WR and you press enter. It will also save the configuration. My configuration is now saved. Okay, so now if I switch off the router and I on it again, am I going to lose my configuration, my changes that I made on the router? Let me check. Okay, so now if I check, you can see that now I didn't lose anything, because the name that I configured, that was Accra, is still Accra. So meaning that the router was able to keep the configuration that the setting that I did on the router. So whatever the thing that will happen on the router, if it goes off and everything, I'll still be able to recover my configuration without problem. So you should be able to make a difference between the two. That's why I'm taking time to explain this. Those are really basic knowledge and you should know it. Okay, so now okay, so now you see that let me show you something. Okay, when you are working on you are in the router like this, and you can move to the privilege mode of configuration, you can move to the global mode of configuration. Okay, so now when, for instance, you want to, if let's say for instance you want to check the running configuration file, but now not from the privilege mode of configuration but from the global mode of configuration, if you try to use the same command, show running, okay, running configuration file, and you press enter, you will see that it won't work. Okay, show running configuration file or show running config, it won't work. Okay, so if you want this command, the command that normally should work at the privilege mode, that only works at the privilege mode of configuration. If you want to use it at the global mode of configuration, you should add the keyword do, before. So you add the keyword do, and then you add the command that you want to use, show run. And if I press enter, you see that now it's working. I'm able to check my running configuration file from the global mode of configuration. So when you are at the global mode of configuration and you want to input a command that works at the privilege mode of configuration, you should always add the do keyword in front, before. Okay, so you add do and you input the command. This is how it works. Okay, and if I want to see the startup config, for instance, do startup do show startup config. If I press enter, it will show me the startup config. This is how it works. Okay, so now another one, if for instance I'm at the global mode of configuration, okay, and then I'm trying to access the global mode of configuration, but I made a mistake. Instead of writing instead of typing configure terminal, I've made a mistake. Instead of typing configure terminal like this, I've made a mistake and I've written configure ter like this. Okay, and if I press enter, you will try that, you will see that the router will show you this error. And if you want to get out, meaning right now the only thing that you can't enter command anymore. It's like you are stuck, you are blocked, you are stuck here. So the only thing you can do is to wait for this process to finish, and then you will have access to the mode of configuration again, and you can continue to configure the router. But if you don't want to wait, this may take time. But if you don't want to wait, you can use the combination control. You can use the combination on your keyboard, the combination of control plus shift plus 6. Okay, so if you use the control shift plus 6, okay, I'm here. Okay, I'm here. You use the combination control shift plus 6, it will get you out of this it will get you out of this mode, of this process. Okay, this process basically the router is trying to resolve something, but when we get to a specific topic I will explain it in a better way. But right now, by when you made this error, the router is trying to resolve to understand what you wanted to do. But now it will take time for the router to understand, okay, basically that what you have done is an error and it does not have, you really need to resolve it. So now when you will do it again, for instance, if I can do it, configure configure there, configure there, press enter again. But you just have to use this combination, Control Shift 6, and it will get you out of here. So those are small tips that can make your work efficient when you're working on the router. Okay, when you're working on the router. So now we saw how to save the configuration. We saw how to have access to the router, the different mode of configuration. Okay, the different mode of configuration, and then I think it is almost 10, so we stop here for today. Next time, what we are going to do, we are going to see how to secure the device. We are going to see how to secure the network device, how to secure the network, how to configure password. For instance, how to configure a password on the console port of the router here, so that if someone wants to have access to the router, that person should have to provide, for instance, a password before having access to the router. You can see that right now no one can have access to the router without providing any password, because the console port of the router is not secured. Okay, so now we can secure it with a password, configure a password there, so that anyone that wants to have access locally to the router will have to provide a password. Without it, no way to have access to the router. So next time, this is what we are going to do, and then after looking at it, doing that, we'll move on to how to perform remote management with network devices using Telnet or SSH. Okay, so I hope this session was really okay. Before closing the session, do you have any question so far? Do you want me to come back to something, to explain something again?
No, no question.
Okay, what about the other ones? Are you guys okay? Okay, if there's no question, so thank you for being present. I hope that this session was really informative and you learned something new today. So I'm expecting you to see you next time for our next session. But let me inform you that okay, we normally our session is on Friday, but this Friday is Pharma Day, so we don't have is holiday, so we don't have class. Okay, so Friday is holiday, so we will not have our session, meaning that we'll only meet on Monday next week. Okay, so now I'll upload. Okay, no, it's okay. So we'll continue our session next time. Okay, so one more time.
Hello, sorry, I've sent my email to your WhatsApp, to you on WhatsApp.
Okay, okay, okay.
Thank you.
So we are done. Okay, so let's meet next time. Have a good night.